In my last video, I talked about hair growth versus length retention and why your hair can be growing but not actually retaining length. In this video, I want to revisit something I've talked about before, hair type, because recently I saw another debate online, this time about Cardi B's hair type. People arguing whether it's 3C, 4A, or 4C. And the truth is, these debates keep happening because the system people are using just doesn't work. And this affects anyone trying to figure out their hair routine using curl type alone. The curl typing system most people use was popularized by Andre Walker. It's a visual chart that tries to categorize hair based on how it looks. It was created to be simple, easy to understand, and beginner friendly. And that's why it spread so fast. But simple doesn't mean accurate. This system was created years ago for simplicity, but it's still being used today as if it's a complete guide. And over time, the chart itself has changed, which has only added more confusion. This is where things start to break down. If someone has very thick, high density hair, their curls can look tighter and fuller. Someone with finer, lower density hair can have the same curl pattern, but it looks looser. So now people think they have different types when they don't. Coarse strands and fine strands behave differently. Even if the curl shape is similar, the way the hair holds moisture, frizz, and definition is not the same. So using curl pattern alone to guide your routine already puts you in the wrong direction. A lot of people are judging curl patterns on hair that's been heat styled for years. I used to do this myself. For a long time, I thought I had 3C hair, especially around 2014 to 15, when I was going back and forth between straightening and wearing it curly. My hair was heat trained, so what I was seeing wasn't my natural texture. It wasn't until I cut my hair in 2017, and then again more recently when I grew it out naturally, that I started seeing my actual pattern. That's when I realized I don't just have one curl type. I have a mix of textures. So if you're trying to label your hair while it's been heat styled or heat trained, you're not really seeing your true pattern. I go more into that in my big chop video if you want to see the full process. Which brings me to my next point. Most people don't even have one curl pattern. I will once again use myself as an example. My roots don't look the same as my ends. The crown looks different from my nape. So even within one head of hair, you're dealing with multiple patterns. So the question becomes, which type are you supposed to choose? The environment also plays a bigger role than people think. Humidity, hard water, product buildup, all of that changes how your curls look and behave, sometimes completely. This is why your hair can behave differently depending on where you live or where you travel to. And it's also why I created my seasonal curly hair routine videos, because your routine shouldn't stay the same year round. For example, I've noticed that parts of my hair that are more exposed, like my crown, tend to get drier and more stretched out over time. That's not a different curl type, that's exposure. Things like sun, heat, and even just being outside more can dry the hair out and affect how your curls form. My mom even mentioned that when I was younger, living in the Dominican Republic, my hair was more exposed to the sun, which led me to have more dryness and damage over time. So again, what you're seeing isn't always your type. Sometimes it's your environment. So knowing these factors highlights where the real problem starts. People recommend products based on curl type alone. People assume one curl type grows faster than the other, or that one is easier to manage than another, and that's just not true. When I used to help in my mom's salon washing hair and doing rollers, I saw this firsthand. People with straight hair deal with tangles and knots, the same way people with curly or coily hair deal with tangles and knots. So this idea that one hair type is easier than another doesn't really hold up in real life. Another problem is that a lot of people go into the salon with a picture of what they want and leave disappointed. But those images are often styled, edited, using extensions, and now sometimes even AI generated. So you're comparing your real hair to something that isn't even realistic to begin with. And the same thing happens with products. People try something once, and if it doesn't work immediately, they assume the product is bad. But sometimes your hair just hasn't adjusted yet, especially if you're coming from a completely different routine. And like I mentioned in my hair type versus porosity video, hair type describes how your hair looks. It can help you understand shape, shrinkage, and what styles or cuts might work for you. But it's not what determines how your hair should be cared for or what products it needs. So when all of the focus is put on hair type, it creates confusion. And in a lot of cases, it reinforces the idea of good hair versus bad hair, when in reality, it's just different hair with different needs. So instead of asking, what hair type am I? The better question is, what does my hair need? What actually matters is how your hair behaves. Things like your hair porosity, your density, your environment, and your routine consistency. Instead of choosing products based on curl type, start with identifying your porosity, your density, and how your hair reacts to your environment. Then build your routine around that. And when you switch products, you also have to give your hair time to adjust. It's the same way as starting a workout routine. You're not going to see results after a few sessions. You see progress when you stay consistent over time. Your hair works the same way. If you're used to certain ingredients like silicones and you suddenly switch to something completely different, your hair might not respond well right away. That doesn't automatically mean the product is bad. It just means your hair is adjusting. Over time, as your routine becomes consistent and you start using products that actually work well together, you'll start to see better definition and hold. You might have heard of other hair typing systems that aren't talked about as much as the original chart. Two of those are the LOIS system and the FIA system. The LOIS system classifies hair based on shape, using L, O, I, and S patterns. So instead of just numbers and letters, it tries to describe how the strand actually bends or coils. The FIA system goes a step further. It looks at multiple factors, not just curl pattern, but also things like density, strand thickness, and length. So it's more detailed and a bit more inclusive than the traditional chart. And I do think systems like these give a more complete picture. They don't tie you to just one photo on a chart. But at the end of the day, they're still based on how your hair looks. So while they expand the conversation, they still don't take priority over what actually determines how your hair behaves, your porosity, your environment, and your routine. If you want, I can break these systems down more in detail. Just let me know in the comments. So now you know what the system is, why it doesn't work, and how and when to approach your hair differently. Whether hair typing is important or not is up to you to decide. But personally, I find that there are too many factors that affect how your hair behaves to focus on curl type alone. If your routine isn't working, it's probably not because you picked the wrong curl type. It's probably because you're solving the wrong problem. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like so it can reach more people, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And if you're looking for more free resources and guides, you can check out my blog at annapokora.com or my Pinterest, Curly Mama Chronicles. Everything will be linked in the description box below. And remember, focus on what your hair needs, not just what it looks like.